Welcome to the Tuckcast with a splash of bourbon, where we talk about fishing and life. Presented by Tuckasegee Fly Shop with 3 locations in Waynesville, Silva, and Bryson City. And if you can't make it there or need something fast, be sure to visit flyshopusa.com. If you're looking to experience Western North Carolina waters with or without a guide, visit tuckflyshop.com or one of our locations for more information on booking, the waters we fish, and current conditions.
All right. We are live.
And we're back.
And we're back again from the
Buckeye
There you
United
go.
Fly Fishers Expo. That's a mouthful.
Man, I'm excited. I didn't know if we'd be able to get you on here. So we tracked down George, and he agreed to take a few minutes out of his day and sit down with us. So I really appreciate you, man.
No, I
doing
appreciate
that.
it. Thanks for
But
having
I know
me.
you got a busy schedule here. So
Busy is good. Keeps
Yeah,
me out of trouble
yeah.
for sure. Yeah.
because you had a couple talks. Did you do anything on the pond too, or
Just
just
casting, a couple
yeah.
talks.
Yeah, good deal, man.
Did
What
you
were
go
the
barefoot?
Not this time.
I heard that's a thing.
the pond regulations here don't allow barefoot. So
Oh,
other
yeah?
shows they do.
so you get in there and wet wait a little bit?
You have to kind of engage with the crowd and a little simulation, but a little simulation with the water. So I like that.
That's
Yes.
like, if you're a back row Baptist like me, you sit at the back and you're just comfortable. But then when that preacher starts walking around, you're like, oh, he's going to it.
exactly.
So on those casting things, do you kind of put people on the spot and be like, "Hey, can you do this cast?"
No, I don't do that.
You don't hand them the rod and
No.
show me what you got.
No, I don't say, here, smart ass, here, take this. No, I don't do that. No.
When he gives you a good question. Oh, goodness. What were your talks about here at the show?
We talked some streamers, talked some Euro nymphing, and some basic casting.
Okay,
Yeah.
good deal. Heck yeah, man.
Did you tell anybody today, like, hey, buy the book?
No, I don't. I'm a horrible business guy.
Okay.
Business guy. But usually, if you do a good enough job talking, the talk usually
That's
sells
right.
the book. So
Yeah. Well, let's go ahead and get the plug out of the way. The books. You've got a couple out there I know of.
yeah, a couple books. I have a book on dynamic nymphing new angles and tactics, and strip set. 3 very good books.
Yep.
I'm proud of, and they've done very well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, they have. We've got a couple of them in the shop. So, heck yeah, man.
How many years has dynamic nymphing been out now?
It's been out for 11 years.
11.
Yep.
Wow.
Wow.
Yep.
Man, it feels like it didn't come out that long ago.
It's gone fast, Bobby.
We're all getting old.
We
All of
definitely
us.
are.
Holy
Absolutely.
smoke, man. So your background is from PA, right? Pennsylvania?
Yep.
Yeah. Because you're good buddies with our buddy Steve Hoovler from out
correct.
at Big Sky Anglers.
Yep.
And your brother works with them some, I guess, or full time. Is he full time out there? Or does he kind of bounce around a
Bounce
little?
around like
Yeah.
most Montanians out there. At that time.
When the water gets too cold, they go find something else.
Exactly.
He's doing winter tours right now?
He does snowmobile tours,
yeah.
and his big thing is especially like the photography side.
Yeah, I
taking
know he does a
photographers out,
lot of
so
that winter photography, man. He does a
Yeah.
good job.
It's a little too cold for me out there. That's why I still live in the east.
Yeah, yeah. So you grew up in PA. So kind of give us a background. Like, when did you start fishing?
I started fishing at age 6. Grew up in a kind of a middle of nowhere town. It was a kids only section. I was the only kid in the area that fished. My brother really didn't fish that much,
Yeah.
so I had like a private brook trout fishery for my entire life, and then eventually moved down to State College area, Central PA, when I was 14. Got to know guys like Joe Humphreys and so
Nice.
forth, and that's kind of when my education really started jumping forward.
Yeah. So you worked with Joe a lot.
I worked with Joe a lot when I was like 16, as soon as I could start driving
Oh, wow.
and harassing him. And then, he just kind of took me under his wing, and he spent a good bit of time with me. And then just the rest of it was just desire and passion.
Yeah.
And I hired other guides. I did odd-end jobs and hired other guides to teach me casting principles. It was just something that I just really loved, the formal education, because you could see the benefits of hiring someone that knew what they were doing and how that would just cut like just weeks and maybe if not years of the learning curve out.
Yeah.
So that's kind of got
So
me going.
you knew pretty quick from being around Joe that, all right, I need to learn as much as I can from this guy.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So for new listeners or new people to fly fishing that don't know, Joe Humphreys is kind of, he would probably be on the Mount Rushmore of American fly fishing, I would say.
Yeah. Without a doubt.
Probably more than 4 people on the fly fishing Mount Rushmore, but he's definitely on that.
Yep.
I would say.
Yep.
Especially from the eastern style fishing on the Appalachian mountains and stuff like that. I mean, he is somebody that's invented a lot of stuff, I feel like.
He has.
You know,
He has a lot
techniques,
of stuff,
all that.
a lot of stuff that we're doing today and what they refer to as modern Euro were things and concepts that Joe was doing years and years ago.
Really.
We hear that all the time in Bryson City. They're like, well, that Euro nymphing, I mean, we've been doing that. We just take a cane pole,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I mean,
It really is.
I heard one guy say we swamp up the yellow jacket nest. All right. And I'm like, swamping up sounds like you're getting stung. I'm just saying. but they would get the larva,
Yep.
and then they would get a sourwood branch, and then tie a line off the sourwood branch, and they would nymph with it. So
Brilliant.
I mean, it's that
Appalachian
simple.
way, man.
It's that simple. So now you know you don't need a rod. You just
Good luck with that branch.
go find the right branch, and you're golden.
Yeah.
So up there with Joe and everybody else there in the State College area, the water, kind of explain to people that don't know PA the type of water y'all were fishing.
Yeah, we're fortunate. We have a lot of limestone spring creek. So basically, we have water that is it's like a regulated water temperature. So it's coming out of the ground. So even in the coldest polar vortexes, it does not freeze, and even in the most extreme heat, rarely does it get above 70 degrees. And because of the nutrients and the limestone geology, you just have perfect water temperatures, great bug activity, good fish populations. It just equates to just a phenomenal 365-day fishery.
I did not know that.
I didn't know that the water didn't freeze.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yep. I mean, there were a couple days where we had like maybe 6-7 years ago where we had like minus 20 wind chill, and we got some shelf ice on the side. But for the most part, the main rivers never freeze over.
That's I did not know that about PA. Now, is that just kind of in the State College
that's
area?
In the State College. That is in the limestone geology.
Okay.
All the other freestoners, which are relegated to air and water temp, like those will freeze up. But our area, it's beautiful.
Is that so? What's the best time there? Like, is winter a good time to fish it because there's not as much pressure? Type thing?
Winter's a good time, but I mean, everyone always wants to say winter is the best time to go because no. But the best time is really April, May, early June. That is when the bulk of our hatches. That's when you get our sulfurs, your granite, your green drakes. It's also the most crowded. But in essence, you could fish it 365 days a year and still have good fishing. It may not be epic in the wintertime, but it's pretty damn good.
Yeah. That's interesting.
We got a friend that would say the best day you can go is the day you can go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's the best day to go fishing is the day you can go. So, is that like what's the size of the rivers again for people that don't know the area?
Yeah, they're typical freestone. I mean, kind of like freestone size. So you're talking anything like it can be like 15, 20 feet wide to 80, 90 feet wide.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's pretty good. What's your favorite river up there?
They're all my favorites. My favorite would probably be Fishing Creek.
Okay, I've heard of that one.
It's smaller, it's fickle, and the fish typically a little bit smaller. So, but it's just challenging. It's just a challenging water, and then usually when you catch fish on Fishing Creek, you're doing something right.
Yeah.
So you said challenging. Do you find that in a broad spectrum, it's harder to fish in the Appalachians or the Rockies?
Oh, by far, it's so much easier to fish in the Rockies.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times when you have guides and anyone that knows when you're going out west, if they know that their angler is from the East Coast, they're kind of excited because normally anglers in the East Coast, I mean, you have to really work for the fish. Fishing is more a lot more pressure, fewer fish. It's just more challenging in general. In the West, not saying it's not easy, not a piece of cake, but you have so many people that go out west. I've taken out on trips. They go out and say, "Oh, I've been on the Bighorn, been here," and then they come to Pennsylvania and get their ass kicked, and they wonder why. It's just a different environment.
Yeah. The vegetation's the biggest thing for me.
Yep.
Is you can't just throw every cast. It's like you got to really pay attention to what you're doing, what's above you, what's beside you, what's behind you.
You do.
All that stuff. So that's what I've always felt. And they get to fish in a lot of cases, not everything, but man, they get to fish bigger tippet.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm always so jealous of that.
I think I asked Steve one time, like, "Hey man, we were floating to Madison. Hey, does how's Euro nymphing work out here floating to Madison?" He was like, these fish really don't like that Euro stuff. Like, what do you say to guys? Because I've heard a Steve Claxton out in the this is a guide who he mastered guiding Hazel Creek in the Smoky Mountain National Park and had a luxurious posh campground that he basically set up. And he was like, "Yeah, the Hazel Creek trout don't really like Euro." And what do you say to that?
Every trout likes Euro.
I'm about to say, isn't like 80% of their diet nymphs and midges? And
when I went down to Tennessee to fish the South Holston, some of the local guides down there were saying, our fish are bug eaters. They don't eat streamers. You can't throw streamers. And I hired some of their guides. We floated for a week basically. We got a lot of big fish. Now a lot of those guys are throwing streamers.
Shocker.
No, every body of water is a great choice for Euro.
Yeah. I think I can agree with that. I'm not a huge Euro. I'm just a dry fly and streamer guy.
Yeah.
So Euro's
like casting,
never.
right?
Yeah, I like casting. Like that's just part of fly fishing. Is I love laying out a cast. So that's it for me. So, but I totally agree. Euro nymphing is super effective when it comes to especially numbers. Like if you want to catch a bunch of fish, man, That is the way. I guess I'm a glutton for punishment, where I just want to make it as hard as possible on myself.
Oh, I hear it. I love streamers, dry flies. Euro nymphing is my least favorite thing to do. But
Is it really?
But I do it 80% of the time because
Yeah.
I want to try to catch fish. So
Yeah.
yeah. But no, if given the choice, it would be my last option.
Yeah. Well, there you go. I'm right there with George. My phone's ringing on me here. So what led you to want to get into writing books about fly fishing? Like, where did that kind of inspiration come from?
It wasn't really about the writing. It was about the education. I love education. I just having guys like Joe Humphreys teach. It was just amazing. Just seeing how quickly a good bit of information can transform an angler's ability. And I just kind of fell in love with it, and I just wanted to keep doing that. And just watching Joe teach and seeing the effect that he had on people, I kind of wanted to do the same thing. So it's really cool to be able to kind of follow in his footsteps and teach the same program that he taught for years.
Yeah.
But you worked hard in it. It wasn't like I hired Joe and it happened.
No. You get some information, but this was just thousands of hours. Just you're logging thousands of hours onto it.
That's kind of a thing we've been talking about in our conversations is you have people that want success, and then you have people that want to do the things that create success.
Yep.
And they're two different lines.
They are.
They're two separate people. You can't just come to Western North Carolina and hire us or hire our friend Mac Brown or whoever. You got to put the work in. It's not ultimately it's just a.
You have to enjoy the process.
Yep.
Well, our society is all about immediate gratification.
Yeah.
Yep. But yeah, you got to put the work in. You're 100%, and man, that's awesome to hear that. Yeah, it was more than just hiring Joe Humphreys and going to Penn State.
No,
Like,
it was.
There's some elbow grease in there.
Lots of
sweat
elbow
equity.
grease. Lots of elbow
Yeah.
grease. Yeah, it was a lot of work.
You learn a lot from mistakes
Oh,
and
absolutely.
losing a lot of flies.
Losing
Yeah.
flies, competition. I think the competition world for me was one of the biggest because you basically, when you surround yourself with people that are better than you, you're going to do nothing but get better because it's
Yeah.
going to kind of put people
That's
on a
true.
higher
Yeah.
pedestal. But if all you do is hang around friends that you whip their ass every time when they're fishing, you're not going to learn anything doing that. So my entire career, and I still do that, is I try to surround myself with people who are better at something than I am, and that just forces me to
That's right.
get out of my comfort mold.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
that makes total sense. So what's harder, fly fishing or writing a book?
Oh, definitely writing the book for
Yeah?
me. Yeah, yep. It's just a lot more structure. It's just complicated. It's just a lot more discipline. I mean, it's so much fun to actually go out and fish. When you're writing a book, the words don't come easy to me, and then it's a struggle sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. So did the second one get easier than the first
No,
one?
no,
it didn't.
they're always a struggle. It's a struggle. It's a constant struggle.
It just kind of keep
Yep.
processing through it.
Yep.
Well, I mean, I think they're cool books. The photography in them's good. Obviously, I think with what you've sold of them, the feedback from people says that the content is good, which is awesome. What's your favorite fish you've ever caught? Do you have a memory where you're like, man, this is my favorite fish?
Muskie. I love muskie.
Yeah?
Yeah. Any of my free time now, I'm on the muskie.
Yeah.
Yeah. I bought a boat. I don't post anything on social media. Muskie fishing to me is kind of like Fight Club. One of the rules of Fight Club is you don't talk about Fight Club.
That's right.
I don't talk about muskies much at home. So yeah.
That's cool.
Real quick, we're going to take a quick break and come back with George Daniel here in just 1 second.
Bobby, I really want folks to know that if you are coming to visit the waters of Western North Carolina, don't wait another minute to book your next guided fly fishing adventure at tuckflyshop.com. Did you know you can visit tuckflyshop.com and book with convenience online anytime? We have guides that are professional, courteous, and knowledgeable, and sure to make that experience one to remember. tuckflyshop.com for your next adventure.
Our guides are not George Daniel, but they're pretty darn good.
Hey, do you guide any?
I do a little.
Do you? Okay.
I'm only doing like 60 or 70 lessons a year.
Yeah.
So, but I kind of like book out a little bit, a few years ahead of time. But
Are your guide trips more of like a lesson, or is
Yeah.
it more, hey, let's go catch some fish?
no, I hate that. I can't do that. What I do is I focus on education. My goal is that when people come to me, if I do my job correctly, they probably don't have to come back to me for a long time until they want to learn something new or different.
Okay.
So it's focused on education, and it's 4 hours. I don't do 8 hours. In truth, most people are not physically capable to
Yeah.
fish 8 hours.
We see that.
So many times, like after lunch, when I was doing full guide trips back in the day, like I did 200 of those a year for like 8 years in a row. Like after lunch, after they ate the turkey sandwich, like they were toast.
Yeah.
It was just
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I find that to be the truth in everything. And then like their cast gets worse, and
Yep. Everything you've been
everything
working
falls
at
apart.
falls apart, and then you feel like you're a failure at the end of the day
Yeah.
because it's just yeah.
No, that's smart. That's smart. I mean, that's what we kind of tell people when they're beginners, especially, is like a half-day guided trip is plenty.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like
is.
there's no reason to go more than that.
Yep.
if you're fishing 3 times a week, then okay, yeah, let's go do more if you want to. But yeah, especially we do some smallmouth fishing and throwing a streamer, man, people's arm wears out.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no way. So,
So-
but Dale was asking you a couple things there when we
Yeah.
were in the commercial.
This is obviously, we love fly fishing. We are blessed enough, fortunate enough to make a living doing this. And in our free time, sure, we like to do that. But what are some other hobbies besides fly fishing you like?
Yeah, I'm definitely hiking a little bit, family obviously, but photography is kind of the thing that kind of allows me to kind of stay outside, especially when I'm fishing. It kind of still keeps me kind of invigorated and excited. So just taking up for my photography. My brother is a great photographer,
Yeah.
so I've learned a lot from him. So when I go out there with him, like my greatest gift is like when he sends me pictures back of the trip, and just when a good photographer can take a picture and basically capture the essence of what you're seeing, that is the coolest thing.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I'm working at right now.
That's cool.
Yeah. Are you going to put a book out of photography or
No
something?
book photography, but I'm taking lots of online lessons, and it's like anything else. You put a lot of hours. Like
Yeah.
we have a world full of YouTube experts, but a lot of times it's just
Bobby's one of those.
No, I'm not. I never say I'm an expert at anything.
so no. I have a lot of friends that are photographers, so we do a lot of bartering. So we'll come up, I'll do a lesson with them for a couple hours, and they give me some photography.
Yeah.
So it's good, and what I like about it is I feel like a complete failure and like a loser half the time with that, because it's like ground zero. And
Yeah.
I know when it comes to fishing is like the more you know, the less you need. And I found with trout fishing, like in the last couple of years, I'm starting to get less and less. I know I still suck at photography because I'm buying every new lens out on the market. So
No.
once I figure things out, I'm not going to be making as many purchases.
Do you ever rent a lens? We have a buddy that rented lenses. Like, is that a way to?
If it's like a high end glass, like a $2,000 to $3,000 piece of glass, I'll run it definitely through like
Yeah.
lens rental.
Yeah.
Use it for a couple of days and then get a feel for it. Absolutely.
Yeah, just to kind of try it out.
Yep. And
There
then if
you
you're
go.
going out west and you want to get some bird photography and you're going to get a 2 to 600, you're not going to use it too much at home. It's a perfect time just to rent it for a week and then return it when you're done. And then that way you get the top end of what the
Yeah.
market is giving you at that
Yeah,
time.
absolutely. So, is your photography just kind of very broad, or are you focused on one specific thing?
It's more specific to like the condition, like basically like kind of like portraits of anglers fishing, just kind of the scene.
Okay, so it ties in with fly fishing.
It's all fly
Yeah,
fishing related.
yeah.
Yep. And it's also a really cool gift. Like when I'm doing this with like some of my favorite clients, like you can capture a couple good photographs, give them a good day of lesson, and then give them a couple photographs a couple days later. That's kind of what I'm doing it for. I'm not using it to make money. Just kind of use it to kind of supplement what I'm already doing.
Yeah.
Absolutely, man. That's cool. I've always admired people that have a good eye for photography, and it sounds like you've taught yourself a lot. But my wife, like even just with an iPhone, has so much better eye for photography than I do. So I feel like it's almost like music. Like people that are good at music, it's almost like a skill that you just genetically have somehow. And I feel like
Sometimes-
photography's that way in some instances.
Sometimes, but if you look at me, like you say, this guy has got no like creativity skill whatsoever. It's something that you can also learn it. Like one of
Yeah.
the books I'm reading right now is a guy named Rick Rubin, who kind of was a guy that kind of brought hip hop in. He's worked with all the great artists, but he just wrote a book on creativity. And
Okay.
basically, his theory is that it's something that is learned. I mean, so like anytime like you get stuck into a traffic jam and you decide to take a new route, that's a creative. So the more times you start, like you start developing that creativity, and a lot of the people that he's worked with, like the artists, they were not what they are today.
Yeah.
It's a learned skill.
Yeah.
And just like anything else, if you want to push yourself and learn it, you can.
Yeah.
It just takes work.
Yeah. Look at us. We got a fly shop.
Somehow.
Or 3.
Now we do make those jokes that like, were we dumb for doing this or are we smart for doing this? You never know.
You're absolutely right about the creativity.
No, it is. Yeah. Yeah. It's I guess some people just have it a little easier when it comes to
Yep.
creativity on
Absolutely.
certain
Yep.
things. You
Yep.
know, artists are that way. You know, they can just paint something, things like that. So photography is one of those skills that I'd love to be better at. So maybe I should take more classes on it. That's probably the first step is figure
There you
out
go, man.
how to use a camera correctly, all the settings.
So one thing we've kind of been talking about, I guess through the last few episodes now, are the value of the fly fishing show, experience, expo, that remains. So we've seen it change pre-COVID. I think these things were kind of, wavering a little bit, and then COVID hit. Obviously, for the Buckeye Show here, 2021 we were planning on being. Was it 22? 22 we were planning on being here.
Yeah, last year.
And COVID shut it down. Here we are finally in 2023. What do you think, between New Jersey, Edison, or I guess they're saying, Atlanta, the fly fishing show, Buckeye, Michigan, all the expos that happen around. What is the value that remains?
I think the value is like when you have one is that you can look at new products, new materials, and I think a lot of it is just relationships. You know, like if you're like you guys are successful, you guys have guide business operations. I think it's a bad way of saying that, but sometimes like when you're hiring a guide, you're not just, but you're also hiring a friend or a buddy for a day in a way. But like if I'm going to make a commitment to go out west and fish with someone for 3 or 4 days, I want to be able to spend time talking to them, like face to face, and that virtual stuff. So I think like when you're trying to understand and try to gauge someone, that face to face interaction is
just that initial relationship building. That's interesting.
Yeah, and we're human. I mean, we even though technology is forcing us further and further away, we strive when we work together and we are together. And I think what shows are able to do is like people I was talking to, like they haven't seen their one of the old fishing buddies in a couple of years.
Yeah.
It's just a way to bring people back.
Yeah,
that's a great perspective. That's what we hadn't heard yet. So
no,
that's
awesome.
awesome.
That's a good way to put it.
The and these folks, we being 2 hours, we're 2 hour drive from where the Atlanta show takes place, with the Ferminskys there, and a lot of people are like, what? You're not going to Atlanta? No, we go to Cincinnati every year, and these people here are just great people, and I say it all the time. Like it's turning me into a Bengals fan. Among other reasons.
Dale's a Cincy fan.
George Tepper's terrible. Or David Tepper, that's his name, Panthers owner. But these people are just, I mean, you pull up, they help you unload. They're so glad to see you. They thank you for being here. And it's like, man, it's a breath of fresh air, I feel like.
It really is.
Yeah.
I love the Midwest.
Yeah.
Morals and
I think
Midwest.
it is a Midwestern thing. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Does Ohio consider themselves Midwest? Is that what we'd have to ask them?
I mean, Indiana's like 10 miles.
Yeah.
Do Indianians, is that how you say that, consider themselves Midwest?
Indiana. I don't know what you call them. The Fort Wayne guys are over there. We'll ask them. What are some of the your favorite shows to go to?
To be honest with you, I mean, I like the Ferensky shows, but I like the smaller, more personal shows like this.
Kind of regional.
Smaller, you can get a good feel, but you have a little bit more time to spend time to talking to people, whereas sometimes the big shows like Edison, it is just a mad rush.
It's like a little rat race,
it is
trying
a rat
to get
race,
everything.
And it's tough to, like, everyone's in the rush. Everyone's trying to push each other out of the way.
Yeah.
I love these types of shows.
Yeah, I do too. They're fun. Like I think that comes back to that human connection. You have more time to spend with people.
Want to see the culture of the area.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Not the cookie cutter where, this person's going to all 6 of the Ben shows. So.
It's fun. It's funny that you mentioned that, like, human connection. When we first got hooked up with Steve out at Big Sky, I went out there just for a trip for me and my wife, and I specifically read their story, him and Joe and Justin's story on their website, and they had just what's the name of the shop they bought? Help
Big
me.
Sky Anglers.
No, the one they took over the
Bud
building.
Lilies.
Bud Lilies. Thank you.
Yeah.
And they just kind of made all that happen, probably within 6 months or so.
Yeah.
And I specifically got a trip with them just to see, like, okay, let's see how these guys are. Man, Steve, like, right off the bat, the connection, like, and how important that was. Like, as soon as I met him and Joe, Justin and Jonathan weren't there when I was there. But as soon as I met both those guys, I was like, yeah, these guys, this is going to work. Like, we're going to be able to do destination trips out here with these guys. And it's weird how, like you said, that click of you're fishing with a friend and how important that is. And I think that is a key to having fun on the water with a guide or someone that's giving you a lesson or something like that, is having that connection where, after you're done with it, for some reason you keep texting each other,
Exactly.
It's not like it never ends, which is kind of cool. So I think that's a great perspective on the show for sure. What's your fondest memory of fly fishing?
Probably just catching my first fish, in all honesty.
Really?
Yeah.
And what age was that?
That was age 5.
5?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was on a fly rod?
It was on a fly rod, but my fly rod, I had a 7.5-foot Fenwick fiberglass rod, bait rod in the spring, turned into my fly rod in the summer. But I caught it on a worm right in front of my house. But yeah, it was like the proudest
That's
moment.
cool.
My mom captured a picture, but yeah, one of my.
I'm glad I found fly fishing in my 20s, but man, to be able to fly fish from 5 years old, like to experience it all the way through. I mean, I fished and stuff, but it was all conventional saltwater lakes and bass ponds and stuff. But man, to pick up a fly rod when you're that young would be. Your son's done that.
Yeah, I was about to say, did you at that time? I mean, look, did you recognize how cool that was?
Yeah, I mean, it was just. You just feel it, like you just like, this is awesome. Like this is all I want to do.
Because I wonder what my son, he was 4 or 5 or something like that. what he thinks of that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, but even through high school, I mean, there was always some girls and basketball, but still, like, it was fly fishing was always like
That was
number one.
it.
Like if girls or basketball got in the way, those would go away, and then the focus was on fly fishing all the time.
When did you know it was going to be a career?
Probably when I started reading Joe's book when I was 14, I didn't know it was going to be a career, but I just said, that's the job. That's what I want to do. And pretty
Yeah.
much I did everything I could. I mean, when it comes to speaking engagements, when people talk about work, like it was like for years, I would just donate like talks. If a group was interested in listening to me and 4 hours away, I was stoked that I could drive 4 hours and speak to a group and not get paid a damn thing. And I did that for years and years. But I knew at 14 that this is kind of what I wanted to do.
Yeah. It's interesting how that works because that's how we started out.
Yeah.
Was, man, we drove all over the place saying, we got a fly shop, we got a fly shop, we got a fly shop.
Yeah.
So that's it, man. That's
Yeah.
rattling the bushes, like you said, putting in the process.
The grind.
Yeah. The grind of letting people know, hey, I'm here.
What'd you graduate with from Penn State?
It was in natural resource management.
Natural resource.
Yep.
So every now and then when spring breaks start cycling through for college, so I guess here in about a month, we'll start seeing college kids coming into, especially the Bryson City shop over the other two. But we'll see some Penn State guys come down. What do you keep in touch with the club? Like, what's the condition of the club? Like, what is it now compared to? I mean, obviously Joe maybe isn't there, but
Yeah. So there's a club and then there's a classes. So
Okay.
so there is a very active club that is in there, has been there since the 1990s. I know a lot of the students, quite honestly, they're such good anglers, they don't need to take the angling class. But it's a very active group. They have anywhere from like 20 to 25 students show up every Thursday night in one of the buildings. They do open fly tying nights. They bring guest speakers in. They do local trips. So it's a very active group. And then with the classes, I stay in touch with all these. I've only been teaching there for 4 years now, 1 year full time, and it's great. I think the greatest reward for anyone, for any teacher, is for someone to reach out to them a couple years later and say, this class kind of like changed the trajectory of my life, and it's just it's made things easier in my high stressful position at work and so forth. So that's I love it.
Yeah.
so you're kind of sliding in there in Joe's shoes.
Those are shoes that I'll never be able to fill, but I'm trying to do my best.
That's awesome.
But you've taken over what he was doing in some
So I
ways.
teach. So now it's a full-time faculty position. So
That's awesome.
When Joe retired in '88, nothing but part-timers. But luckily, I don't know why, but they actually created a full-time position for me a year ago.
Fantastic,
So,
man.
I teach 3 different classes, total of 7 sections. So basically 7 classes, 3 days a week, and then it's a directorship position. So I'm doing some outreach, fundraising also for the organization or for the university. So it's a great position.
So you're busy, man.
That sounds like a grown-up job.
Yeah, that's a grown-up job.
Yeah, it's working for yourself for 12 years, and then
Does it have benefits?
it's got benefits.
There you go.
And so yeah, but
Now you can go to the doctor.
But that's a smart thing I did first. I married up first, so my wife already had benefits going into
Me
it. So,
too.
yeah,
That's how
Good
this
call.
works.
that's the only way you
That
can do
is the
this.
secret. Hey, that's the secret to it. Marry up. That's
Chapter
it.
1 of the Little Red Book of How to Do Things in the Fly Fishing Industry. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
That
it.
is it. Man,
Thanks, babe.
I didn't realize you were full time with this, so that's cool. You said that happened about a year ago.
Yeah.
That's fantastic, man. Congratulations on
Thanks.
that. That's cool. It's got to be a cool feeling too to go from being the student with Joe and stuff, and then now you, like you said, you're not going to fill his shoes, but you're in that same role of like that's like the full circle of life, kind
Giving
of,
back.
which is like really cool. You're giving back,
Yep.
doing that same type of thing.
Well,
that
they're
you
paying
got.
you. You're not giving back. They're paying you.
Yep, exactly.
Well, yeah, but you're still giving back.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like
no,
you
it's-
said,
yeah.
Yeah.
you're putting in more than you're probably getting paid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, any teacher does. I think we all realize that.
Sure.
Whether it's elementary school to college,
Yeah.
teachers put in a lot of effort to give students what they deserve.
They
So that's probably a really cool feeling. Like I said, that's kind of that full circle of life of, I got this, and in 20, 30 years, somebody may be taking your shoes.
Oh, absolutely. If I
and-
do my
yeah,
job correctly, then everything will
absolutely.
be set up, and hopefully the program will keep going on and getting stronger than what it was when I was running it. So
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fantastic, man. That is super. So, do you have a good story about Steve?
Oh,
I haven't fished with Steve a whole lot.
You
Not a
haven't?
whole lot. Only one time on the Lehigh back home, but I have not spent a whole lot of time with him.
Man, I was hoping you'd give us some dirty.
No,
I was like, I actually really don't even know Steve. Like,
Yeah.
who's the Steve guy?
No.
Y'all keep.
Nah, he knows Steve.
yeah, I'm trying to. We're going to try to get together and do a little bit more fishing when I'm out west. But Steve is.
He's busy too,
Because
man.
he does not stay in one spot.
No,
very
he
long.
doesn't. So hopefully we can make that happen.
Yeah.
I've been trying to get him to go muskie fishing with me, but he's in PA during the off season.
Right.
But it's tough. It's
I
like
can see
herding
him
cats.
going,
Yeah.
And he's thinking about 10,000 casts.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're really pumped to go with him to Argentina and see that whole operation. So we're excited to spend some time. I've never met your brother.
He's
We were out there last year, and he was going to come do some photography, and he wasn't feeling well. He was under the weather, so we didn't even get to meet. I think you've met him, right?
Yeah, he's been a guide on a couple of our hosted trips out there. I think for the last 2 seasons. So always in those bright Crocs. I mean, I love it.
yeah, I don't know how he does it, but he's the fun one in the family. I mean, he's a little taller, a little heftier than I am.
He's taller than you because you're pretty
A
tall.
little taller. He's got full tats, full beard. So he's the fun one in the family.
He's the Montana guy.
He is the Montana
I mean, he's
guy.
got the look.
He
man.
does. He definitely
Yeah.
has the look.
That's the reason he's out there. Absolutely.
Yeah, no, he's got a fantastic personality on the water, and he did great for us. And that's one thing with the relationship with Big Sky that we know that because of those relationships, we're putting our customers in good hands up there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So he's done fantastic.
That's the important.
Job there.
Very
So,
important.
Yeah, looking forward to Argentina. Do you get to do any destination travel?
Yeah, you travel overseas much?
I've had lots of invites. I just don't take them up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
We're excited. Like we've kind of been talking a little bit today with folks how 23 I hear is like the revenge year.
Like getting back at COVID.
The flash show happening. Like
Yep.
it's the revenge show.
Yep.
That we were supposed to go in Argentina with Steve to do this in 2020, and 2 weeks before they shut down the country. So finally we're getting back to that. So it's exciting. Things feel more normal. And yeah, we're trying to get out and about. So.
Do you have a top 3 bucket list places to go fish that are maybe outside of the U.S.?
Oh, definitely. I mean, I would love to go down anywhere and just spank a bunch of small tarpon, just small. I don't want the big ones.
I hear Cuba's good for that.
Yeah, that's my brother came back from Cuba. He's like, man, I need to do that at some point.
Yeah.
But I don't want the big. That's just too much work for me.
Yeah.
I'd rather just get a bunch
Well,
of small
one of
fish.
the guys the other day told us, he was like, man, it was 53 cast, 53 eats. And he's like, I was tired of catching tarpon.
Yeah, that's exactly the problem I want to have.
Yeah, exactly. What's another one
Yeah.
besides tarpon?
Definitely, I would love to go to Argentina. I've been in New Zealand a handful of times, but Argentina, Chile, I would like to do that.
What do you know about Slovenia?
Slovenia is beautiful. We've had youth kids events going over there.
Yeah.
That's another wonderful
So
place
we're
to
going
go
there in
fishing.
June to
Okay.
look at that for a destination to try to start setting that up. So we're kind of pumped for that.
Kind of. Well, it is off topic, not kind of. Why do the Europeans whip our tails?
Well, they did. We're starting to get a little bit better,
Yeah.
but they have systems. I mean, a lot about fly fishing. It's like in the U.S. we have great anglers, but we have great anglers that may compete maybe a couple times a year. Where in Europe, they have great anglers that compete literally every weekend. It's like having
Gotcha.
LeBron. It's like having LeBron James only play basketball a couple times a year.
Yeah. That makes sense. We use that analogy a lot about golf and fly
Yeah,
fishing.
It's just repetition, and
Like
when
if you
they
do
get
it.
to the water, I mean, they're dialed in.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the things.
Yeah. How do you think, from a competitive nature for the U.S. teams, what do they, at least historically, what do they need to improve on? Like a lot of people think of competitive teams as just euro nymphing. Nobody on the team knows how to dry fly fish or streamer fish or any of that type of stuff. So is that something that U.S. is behind on, or are we?
No, with the the youth team years ago, we had a great youth team that these kids, they were great dry fly I mean, they could cast a whole line. They had good line leader control. They could Euro nymph. They could dry fly. They could do all things.
Mm-hmm.
Our kids right now, we have good nymphers, but we have really poor casters, and that's something that we are really working hard on.
Good.
But no, the top anglers in the world, they are complete anglers, even
Yeah.
though 90% of the time that they're Euro nymphing. But if they need to make a cast 60 feet out and make a reach mend with a 20-foot leader, they can do that.
Yeah, that's a hard cast, by the way.
And that's what the top. that's
Steve
what the
still
top
yells
can
at
do.
me about that.
The Henry's Fork throwing those casts, man. Good grief. Some of those, I'm just we're not used to that over here.
Those fish are just bad. Yeah.
That's a beautiful place to fish, though,
It
the
is.
Henry's Fork. That was on my bucket list. I've caught fish below the state park.
Mm-hmm.
I've never caught one in the park.
Okay.
So I'm like,
He
so
videoed
bummed.
me.
I videoed him and everything. It was great, but
Epic.
that's on my bucket
Owe
list.
you one, man.
So of getting one in the park, but Well, man, I don't want to take up all the rest of your day, so I really appreciate you hopping on here.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I said, good to meet you again. I met you, like I said, it's been years ago, but really nice to see you, and hopefully see you some more events now that things are opened up and we don't have to deal with the COVID stuff anymore.
That's it.
I hope
Revenge.
so. I
Yeah.
hope that's behind us.
Yeah,
think
I do
so.
too. So, do you want to plug anything else?
No.
You mentioned your books or
No,
anything,
I'm good.
guide website,
No,
anything like that?
I'm-
You're good.
I'm booked up. I don't need any more. I'm good. I'm good.
He said, "I'm busy enough. I'm good,
I'm
guys.
busy
I really
enough.
appreciate
That's
it."
a good problem to have.
Well, good deal, man. Well, thank you again so much. I really
Appreciate
appreciate you
Thanks,
taking
guys.
time. Really,
Appreciate
really
it.
do.
Thank you.
That wraps up another episode of the Tuckcast with a splash of bourbon. For more content, visit Tuckasegee Fly Shop's YouTube channel for instructional how-tos, reviews, and more. For fly fishing articles, check out Tuckasegee Fly Shop's blog at tuckflyshop.com. Thanks for listening. Tight lines.